Hello and welcome to one of those later in the day crypto technical analysis update videos on the money chart channels. All bets, trades of the like. Well, that's within each's own risk and their own reward. For myself, risk reward management is always job number one. Bitcoin dominance, hanging in there, grinding, resisting amongst the 18 average of lows and this Fibonacci level. Yeah, it could hold, but still looks as if it's going. And I'm hoping, whichever happens, happens. It makes a move in here, and I'm hoping it does so because all the main altcoins, like a dartboard rally, dartboard move is when all the coins generally go up or down together in the same motion. Some, of course, better than others, and will be ideal as if it goes down here because Litecoin has one of those, Litecoin 30% in one day kind of days or something amongst that ballpark area. And with an hour and a half to play in this day of a 24-hour day, looks like a pause day to me. Not much volatility in here. High of 86.18, a low of 84.52. I think I calculated that earlier. That's like 2%. It's just not doing anything. But that's a positive. Doing nothing kind of day. Another one if we were to do that, a pause move. Okay. Obviously, support is still going to come down to, well, shorter term analysis. You can see it's got some range move in here on the 18 average of lows. And looking at this move a little more short term, well, not too many candles works pretty well here after this move. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 periods just hanging in there within the 18 average of highs. 18 average of lows barely starting to rise, but this general area and even the pierce below to match this little resistance area from these three or so periods would be totally fine if it's going to do that. But making a move over here, it's like you're sleeping. Are you going to get now? This is like the longest sleep ever. No, not really the longest sleep ever, but if it does happen to wake, it is price action. You see evidence that this thing is ready to make a move and get above it. Then we got a couple level layers of resistance. One the upper end of this range here, and the second, and then around 10,000. Let's move on next to Tron. I'll do a few more alts, and then we'll move on to Cryptopia, and I'm going to talk about that as well at the end of the video. So therefore, we had several months down with the decide. I mean, this was an up month, but other than that, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13 of 14 of these weeks were down weeks. And the up week wasn't much of a week, although there was a couple not much of a down weeks either. Definitely the two that was in between. Major sideways action there amongst the 18 lows. And then a barely up week, followed by a bit better of a barely up week. And well, this one is a bit better than a barely up week, but it kind of is just a barely bit of a move. All it is getting to is the 18 average of lows. However, when you have this kind of volatility, that's the first spot. Does it get up to the highs here? Maybe, maybe not. I don't know. Do we have any evidence here in the daily time frame? Oh, yeah, we kind of do. We have a statement date today, and the statement doesn't say that it's just going to stop going up here. So if it resists in here, and that's the top, and that's it, or even appears above in that area, and that's it, and you see weakness amongst this after having a very noticeable break above all. First, this level of resistance was right in here. And then you could have increased its range a little bit, but either way, it got above it. And when you look at the maneuvering of it, this is from the low, the whole time in here, from the decline on April the 11th. The entire action was pretty much spent below the 18 average of lows, and oftentimes well below it. And when it had this rally on May the 14th and 15th, okay, get excited maybe, but no, I don't know. But it then spent a good over 1 week or multiple days closer to double digits. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 even. 11 just hanging in there within this declining 18. But after May 26th, when it closed, at one of the higher periods that it had, the highest close it had since this day here, it was closing above the more recent levels of resistance that it acquired the last few days prior. And then they had the breakout. That's a change in, this, in the statement. Band flatten out, stage one. Establish resistance, which it did so on May the 28th, stage number two. It did so at 423. Come back to the band, it did that. Stage number, it was stage three, come back to the band. Stage four, break established, did that. Bull market. Okay, we'll see how well this goes. And if you do something like that, okay, we got into a bull market and it is the top. That's a nasty failed breakout. It's just good to know that in advance that if that's the case, we'll see. But that means this line that I drew in here, the 18 average, so the line from here down to really about here is where the must hold is going to come into play. And if it doesn't hold that area, then again, the whole bad news scenario. But with all that being said, again, when we take a look at this on the weekly, if it's able to get above there, then that's going to take us to the 18 average of highs as the next level of resistance, which we're going to draw in here at 521. It will be declining, but usually they pierce extra anyway. So basically, what I'm saying is next week it might be at around 5035, but it's not going to decline as much of a rate of descent because this was a good high that it put in this week right now at 459, but it's still lower than where the numbers are, so that would still make it decline. And that means there'll be two in a row because it's already counted this one, but it will count another one, so that does help it a bit. Okay, so looking at this within the key line, there's an idea for a level of resistance. And if we look at this further, that would make about sense, isn't it? And then if we get above that, maybe we'd be looking at somewhere there. But it's all an if and question mark type of stuff. I don't know. But when they have these moves, and here, big move up. So if it only gets up to here, that's still a lame ass rally. It's just that if it gets up to here, you get more cushion for protectionary move. Because I've already explained what it needs to do to correct from where we stand right now. But if price action is able to meet up in this high somewhere, well, now the must hold area is going to be somewhere around here, and somewhere around there would work out to be like say 420 or something, which is a decline of 100 on 5. That's like 25% or 20% that it can decline. So be it. That's not as big of a move, or excuse me, it's a bit bigger of a move than, of course, where it stands now. So that's what happens when you get nice little gain. And that's, of course, if it even has much of a correction, because as we see it in here, it gets above the 18, has this amazing motion, and then off it goes. Let's finish it off within the shorter term time frame. And let's put it onto the 4 hour. And so that's that level we see from before, the level of resistance, roughly around 400 up to about low 400s is where you'd have that must hold area. You got above this point in here. So just this move in here, you're like, okay, just this small move. See, the support matches this resistance. Always what I want to see it do is hold an area like that. I don't care if it goes below the 18. Can it stay and hold above it? In this case, it did. It had a long time for it to do it, but once it made this low, it never even tested it again. It established this level of support, then it really established it around 375. But since this period in here, up, 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 maybe a correctionary move in here, going red, that's and when you see something like that, if to me, I don't know how do you predict the next little bit in here? If you have this many periods up in a red candle, to me, it's either you're starting a deeper correction back to here, or you're in a wild upwards big move momentum spot. that you could be live. Maybe you hit it first, who knows? But you could be live for monstrous green moves up, and maybe one or two big green candles to follow. Maybe 11 of the next 14 will be up. Anything of that kind of nature there, and most importantly, would be much much larger prices along the process. Single hour term time frame. This market had its breakout last night at 8 o'clock. Right now, it's having its third correctionary phase amongst the 18. The first coming in here, the second, and now in at the third. And obviously, if it fails on the highs, then the 18 average of lows, previous level at around 425 ish or so, I'd be looking at for even appears below 420. And of course, all the way down to here. But this general area of where it came from, 419 to like 431, just general area. And when we look at this on the 15-minute turn, we can see that within its run, how much has it had for its correctionary move since it broke out from this? It lifted off from it here, had a little bit of correction in here. Nice breakout, corrected for several periods, keeping the uptrend in motion. Then follow suit within it. I'm talking about corrections not at the highs, but within, so I'm not going to count this one here. And then it had correction inside it here after that great move, but it only had a few periods. And in such, after that, it managed to lift off from the highs, make a new nice high, and then a little bit of a deeper correction in here, held and stayed above it, but it spent several periods in here at these lows, gets above this resistance. This has already came back to here, and we've already had this long correction. And now it's been several periods. But what didn't happen here is it didn't break below the support. Now, yeah, it's broken here, but it's just general area. If it ends up breaking it, we're seeing weakness at the 18. That doesn't mean it's not going to go down. After all, it was showing weakness here, not as much as it is now. But if you see signals like it's starting to do it, okay, market's at like 432. Well, if I see it go down to 432, 431, I like my chances now that that 420-ish type area, 418, 422, somewhere in there, would happen relatively fast. And then that who knows area from that, because if it does go down to the 420 area, now we're talking about a correctionary phase a little deeper into here as it would hit its 18 average of lows. Let's move on next to Komodo because it seems a little live to me, a little maybe anxious and ready to go. We'll see. I like to bring up coins that have pretty decent setups, and this one is doing such. So as it goes on, let's just take a look at a lot of candles to start this off. Maybe this is a bit too many. It's the daily chart, and it's another ad I'm going to have to remove. Now, as far as ad blockers, I got the standard one that's been around for the last 8 years or so. It's the ADP, Ad Block Plus. And they say they come with it. If you have the more premium packages, they do take them away. It is really odd because they were relatively annoying before. And then I got to the point where if I left my browser on for at least 6 to 8 hours, I realized it would go away after that. So I ended up leaving my computer on and putting it in like a sleepish kind of mode over, and then it would work for a bit, but then I'd have to restart the browser. I just want to restart the computer anyway, and then they just stop coming up. But anyway, that's got to do with that. Okay, this isn't fair for me to show Komodo like this, so I'm gonna because if I'm gonna show all the data, I'm gonna want to show Bittrex. That's not what I wanted to do. So let's just go to the 4-hour term. And when we see it amongst this, a lot of candles, 18 doesn't really mean too much in here. Point A low, point B high. This was a big high when it came down to it. Obviously, it held and stayed above where it needed to for a decent period of time, but it was unable to break out. It had an opportunity here and here, didn't do so, and you can see what happened when it broke the support, which was then followed by several failed breaks. Higher, we have the little one in here, bigger one in here. After this level in here, there's most certainly a failed breakout here. Fast move lower. So after seeing all of these candles, and I don't like seeing too many, let's shorten it out, what the 4 hour is showing here is we have found the level of support at an area it previously was that of resistance. And okay, so multiple hit, but what we're seeing currently after this great move is this little 4 hour period just recently gone by. It kind of broke above this 18 average of highs after just trying like its darndest to hold on support, having pressure below the 18 lows, but it managed to get above here. Now it's having its correctionary move. I'm really just interested in the last two periods. And a good charting software for me, I'd be like, give me two periods like this, and I want to see just that over 80, 100 periods, 100. I want to see 100 candles just the last two, kind of deal. So I guess if it was 100 or 8 hours times 100, that would be 800 hours. I guess that'd work out to the 8 minute time frame, I suppose. But and that's something you could do with the paid membership. And if I could download data, especially all historical ones, like the hourly and 15-minute chart, oh, I would like to see what you can give me, and we could work out a deal for what I would spend on something like that. But that's one feature that just I can't find anywhere where I can download intraday, like hourly, 15-minute, 4 hour charts kind of deal. On TradingView, you can get, or excuse me, not TradingView, CryptoCompare.com. You can get 2 week charts, which are hourly data, but that means you have to get data within every 2 weeks. And if you don't, and you miss out on a day or two, you miss out on data, which you'd probably have to manually get this way, which is a pain in the ass. And that means, okay, I'm just going to write down for this day I got high 1569. I got low 1446, close 1467. Okay, next. And just, I've done that in the past before. Anyway, onto the chart, single hour term time frame. This thing broke out this afternoon at 1300 hours, getting above 1618 up to 1823. Now we've had three red candle pullback, down with 13 minutes left to play in the hour, 15-minute time frame. There's a correctionary move. No big deal that it's went below this. It's got to fill some of this empty space. But now that it's had enough time, is it going to be one of those failed moves? It very well easily may be. And if we see weakness below here, all that type of stuff, that means on the daily term, we'd be having the must hold area. That's where you could be going down to, because in here, it's really got to hold and stay above somewhere around 1500. That would be my best estimate. But I do like how this level of resistance, how it's holding and staying above it for a decent amount of time. Okay, 17 minutes, 43 seconds in, and I usually do mid 20s lately anyway. So I should leave myself enough time to talk about all the things I want to do with Cryptopia. And back on January 12th, 2012, they said hashtag on this day way back in 2009 or 2009. Early adopter and contributor Hal Finney received 10 bitcoins from Satoshi Nakamoto and the world's very first Bitcoin transaction. Where do you think Bitcoin will be in 10 years? Question mark. But anyway, so that's when the first ever transaction came. But right after that, the next tweet was the security breach and everything that went within it. But a couple things that I want to go over, as one of them is the police have given us access back to their building. It was a month later, February 14th. And then less than 2 weeks later, this to me is the big tweet. February update. We are continuing to work on assessing the impact assured as a result of the hack in January. Currently, we have calculated that the worst case. Oh, I mean that's the word right there. Worst case. 9.4% of their total holdings were stolen. Please keep an eye on our page for further updates. And what I was saying back then is okay, it's going to be a while to get it back. And you're going to get a little bit of a haircut, all that type of stuff, and you're going to get something back. That's pretty much how it's going to look. Cryptopia might try to stay in business. I probably don't think they'll succeed. What might happen is they'll just open up the wallets, let you withdraw, and go into business. Obviously, that didn't happen. And then, I mean, they did weird things. started allowing trading for coins, but you couldn't withdraw anything. Then they allowed you to withdraw Doji, Litecoin, and Bitcoin, but that was it. And it meant you had to sell other coins at crappy prices to just get Bitcoin, Litecoin, or Doji. And then the guy gave you a haircut, a small one on Bitcoin and a large one on Litecoin. And they took all your Ethereum, but they took all your everything else's too. And then there were coins you couldn't trade. Komodo, I talked about it. I have Komodo, or I had Komodo, that I don't expect to ever get back. If I do, great. If not, well, we'll see. The last tweet just came out on May the 31st. Liquidator's first report of the state of affairs, Cryptopia Limited, and liquidation is now available, and there's a link for it. And I've looked over a few things within it. And within it, one of the first things that I'm going to read is unsecured creditors. The company's electronic records indicate there are 69 unsecured creditor claims totaling $2.4 million. However, we expect that we will receive claims in the excess of this amount. Customers' holdings. These are people like myself and everybody else who have funds in accounts. The company held cryptocurrencies in wallets by cryptocurrency. I'm going to read that again. The company held cryptocurrency in wallets by cryptocurrency. What I learned in school, this would be a noun that represents individuals, like places, a place, person. So a cryptocurrency is holding a cryptocurrency. It's like saying your dollars are held by dollars. Your painting is held by a painting. But anyway, we'll just continue on. And has a database detailing the customer transactions and balance allocated to each customer. We are currently gaining access to the database to undertake a reconciliation of the holdings against the customers or customer balances. They're trying to gain access to the database. That's like you're trying to wash the dishes. You're trying to unlock the door. You're trying to drive the car. And I heard something about how their ballots have been sold off to some company in Arizona, and they don't want to deal with it. It's like some sounds like exit scam type of stuff for me, but it also sounds most importantly like we might not have access to who owns what and whatever cryptos. So they don't even know how many of the coins you have. And there's hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of different cryptocurrencies that people have ownership to. And the only coins that ever got help taken off that exchange was Bitcoin. Some of their Bitcoin. Not all of it, but some of it. Litecoin. And they took 42% of the Litecoin off right off the bat. So some of the remaining 58% was taken off. And then, of course, there was Doji, and any of that could have been taken off. Every other coin could not have even been taken off. It could have been traded, but if there were, say, 72 million of whatever particular coin that all users had in sum for whatever ABC crypto, then it stayed at that number. Yes, some people would have sold it, but other people would have had to buy it, kind of deal. But I'm just basically stating that that's how it was, and to not have access to it, that's pretty bad. So they're currently gaining. Okay, we are currently gaining access to the database to undertake a reconciliation holdings. So until the user database is reconciled with the crypto wallets operated by the company, we cannot confirm the value of customers' holdings. And the value of these cryptos will end up meaning a lot. Their secured creditors are Dell from New Zealand and Coca-Cola. Most likely. Oh, yes, also from New Zealand as well. They got a whole bunch of list of other different names in here and some signatures as well. But I'm going to go to the accounting point of view of this because this is the next thing that I thought was really interesting. Why did it shift me back up? Okay. So here's a list of some unsecured creditors. There's a decent sized list there. Okay, where was the accounting level? This is it. Okay. Appendix B, Statement of Affairs. And I'm going to try to now scroll this down the best that I can. Can page down help? No. Yeah, this will work. Do it this way. Okay, so estimated statement of financial positions, book value, recoverable value, cash on hand. And to me, this looks like. Now, is this in thousands or is this in millions? I'm guessing this. Or is this in ones or thousands, I should say? Meaning, is this one. It's got to be 1 million. So, cash on hand's $1 million. Every one of it bit's recoverable. Companies, crypto assets unknown. We'll get to that one after we get past the other numbers. Fixed assets, 2.1 million, but they can only recover a small fraction of that to 650,000. Loan receivable, accounts receivable, 240,000. They don't unknown. They don't know if anyone will pay them back. And then in the liability section, it totals 4.2 million with everything in play. 4.2, yep. 1.7 million was the assets. The net liabilities, 2.5 million. They stated off the bat, worst case scenario, that under 10% of the value of their cryptocurrencies, with the February prices as well, were affected within that. And that was for like a decent amount, so 11, 20 million, whatever. So, and it makes sense that the cryptocurrency value that is unknown up there might be worth 6 figures or 9 figures, 100 million, 80 million. Because that's what I felt it was. It was either going to be a $20 million-ish scam or a $100 million scam. And it's looking like the latter and not the former. Because when you figure what is in there, you have the Bitcoin. When we talk about the value, the holdings on January 14th, the Bitcoin, well, it got reduced a little bit because people withdrew. Some people deposited. I mean, that was the sick part. They opened up deposits and withdrawals, and or the deposits, and then of course not knowing that they weren't going to be able to stay in business. That's what made it sick. But anyway, throwing that part aside, that's how much Bitcoin there would be. So there'd be a little less Dojis, a little bit less Litecoin, but only a little bit, as I mentioned. But what was the Ethereum worth? What was all of their Dash worth? What was their DGB worth? What was their ETN worth? What was their and there's dozens and dozens and dozens of other coins that have pretty good market values and hold amounts that people would hold. Then the intermediate holdings would become very, very valuable. Where you would think if they owed 2.5 million, which they'd have to haircut it off of what's left of what 80 million, 100 million maybe worth of cryptos, which are only going up at this bull market. And then all of a sudden, okay, so we have to of the 100 million got to take 2.5. That's what, 2.5% haircut? I mean, that could have just been done. Just let people take out their coins, figure out what you owe, and then that, again, that's part of the haircut. But no, this is really, really fishy, I see on my end. I mean, there's nothing I can do about it but just read these articles and hope that I'll get an email or be able to log in and or either way. Pretty much, and I should be stating, or at least or, meaning, well, I guess if you can log in, you can definitely email. But with that being said, I'm not too hopeful that the coins will get back. If they do, sweet. And definitely lesson learned, which is why I'm putting the vast, vast, vast majority on hardware wallets. Compared to before, I'm You lose a decent percentage, much, much higher than 1. And definitely it was lower than. It was definitely lower than 20, lower than 15. It might have been lower than 10. Definitely was lower than 10, but not by much. It was almost 10%, I think. Uh, it was over 10%. Then, well, it was under 10. I mean, I got some of it back. That was a thing about Cryptopia. I was able to get whatever I could get back, I could, which was an okay portion, but it was pretty bad. So we'll now finish this video off. Thank you for tuning in, and I'll show it with a Bitcoin 15-minute time frame. Hey, it looks like it's breaking out. And what this means on the daily term is that it's going to be a pause day, like I said in the intro. Yay, yay, yay. 30 minutes and almost 31, but not quite. Thank you for tuning in, and I look forward to any comments that may happen to come if they do. And have yourself a good rest of the weekend. Go Raptors, go. Bye bye.